The year was 2187, and Earth had finally joined the Galactic Confederation after decades of careful diplomacy. Humanity was still finding its place among the stars, viewed by many older species as newcomers barely out of their cradle. That perception was about to change in ways no one could have predicted. Sergeant Ethan Miller stood in front of his mirror, adjusting the ceremonial sash on his dress uniform. His fingers, calloused from years of military service, fumbled with the unfamiliar material. He had faced Centaurian shock troops in battle without flinching, but the thought of standing in a formal honor guard for alien royalty made his stomach tighten. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to himself. "I'm a soldier, not a palace guard." The communication panel on his wall chimed. Captain Laura Bennett's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious as always. "Miller, are you ready? The transport leaves in 20 minutes. "Yes, Captain, just making final adjustments." Bennett's eyes narrowed slightly. "Remember, Sergeant, you were selected for a reason. I know your record. You think on your feet and notice things others miss. Just try not to notice anything that requires breaking protocol today." Ethan nodded. His reputation for bending rules, when necessary, had nearly cost him this assignment. "Understood, Captain, by the book today." "See that it is," Bennett said. But there was the faintest hint of a smile before the screen went dark. Across the city in a modest home in the suburban district of New Washington, 8-year-old Lily Adams was also getting ready. Her mother, Susan, carefully brushed Lily's long brown hair while her father, George, recorded the moment with his camera. "Hold still, sweetie," Susan said. "It's not every day a little girl gets to meet aliens from another world." Lily stared at her reflection. She hadn't told her parents about the dreams that had been coming more frequently. Dreams of strange symbols and stars arranged in patterns she didn't recognize. Last night's dream had been the strongest yet. Hands moving in specific patterns while unknown words formed in her mind. "Mom," Lily said quietly, "what if I do something wrong?" Susan placed her hands on Lily's shoulders. "You'll do fine. Just hand them the flowers like you practiced and give a little bow. Nothing to it." George lowered his camera. "Your teacher said you were chosen because you're one of the best students in your class. We're so proud of you." Lily nodded, but the strange symbols from her dream flashed in her mind again. They felt important somehow. Urgent even, though she didn't know why. The morning of the Arcturian arrival dawned clear and bright. Global Unity Plaza had been transformed with decorations representing both Earth cultures and, as best as humans could approximate, Arcturian aesthetics. Massive screens showed the royal vessel entering orbit, a sleek ship that seemed to shimmer with colors that changed as it caught the light. Ethan stood at attention with the other 11 members of the Human Honor Guard. Across from them would soon stand the legendary Ketal, the elite royal guards of Arcturian society. The briefing files described them as warriors bound by codes so ancient and sacred that no Ketal had broken formation during a royal ceremony in over 3,000 years. Captain Bennett passed by, inspecting each guard one final time. When she reached Ethan, she paused. "Remember, the Arcturians can detect human emotions. Stay calm, focused, and respectful." "Yes, Captain." The first notes of the arrival anthem began to play as the diplomatic shuttle descended. The crowd of specially selected witnesses fell silent. Among them, Lily stood with 11 other children, each holding ceremonial bouquets of flowers combined with synthesized Arcturian flora. Lily's teacher, Ms. Green, whispered final instructions to the children. "Remember the order. Lily, you'll present to the youngest royal, just like we practiced." The shuttle landed with barely a sound. There was a moment of perfect stillness before its door spiraled open in a way no human door ever could. The Arcturian royal family emerged. Ethan had seen images, but they didn't capture the reality. The Arcturians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies and skin that seemed to ripple with colors just beneath the surface. Their movements were graceful, almost like dancers. Behind them came the Ketal guards, their bodies more muscular, their skin a constant deep blue that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. The Earth Secretary General stepped forward, giving the practiced greeting. "Highest ones of Arcturus, Earth welcomes you to our humble world. May the stars shine between us. The tallest Arcturian, wearing elaborate ceremonial garments that seemed alive with subtle movement, responded in perfect English. People of Earth, we bring greetings from the 7 worlds of the Arcturian system. May knowledge flow between our peoples like the great rivers of the galaxy. The ceremony proceeded exactly as planned. The adult dignitaries exchanged formal words and symbolic gifts. Then came the children's presentation, a gesture meant to symbolize the future of relations between the species. One by one, the children stepped forward, presenting their bouquets to the corresponding Arcturian royal. Each royal bent slightly, their skin flashing gentle colors of appreciation as they accepted the gifts. Then it was Lily's turn. She stepped forward toward the youngest royal, a smaller figure whose skin shimmered with patterns that looked almost like stars. But as Lily moved, her eyes were drawn to one of the Ketal guards standing rigidly behind the royal. Something about his eyes caught her attention. They were entirely black except for tiny points of light that really did look like stars. And, suddenly, the dreams came rushing back to her. Without thinking, without understanding why, Lily's free hand formed a complex gesture. Her fingers moved in patterns she had seen only in her dreams, forming shapes that felt as natural as breathing, though she had never consciously practiced them. The reaction was instant. The Ketal guard's skin flashed brilliant gold, a color so bright it seemed to illuminate the entire plaza. Gasps rose from the crowd as the guard broke formation, something no briefing had suggested was even possible. In a movement too fast for most eyes to follow, the guard rushed toward Lily. Security teams tensed, but something stopped them from intervening. Perhaps it was the expression on the Arcturian royals' faces, not alarm, but something that looked strangely like awe. The Ketal guard knelt before the startled little girl, his massive frame now at her eye level. He spoke words in a language no human had heard before, the sounds musical yet powerful. And to everyone's shock, Lily responded in the same language, words flowing from her mouth that she had never learned. The bouquet of flowers fell forgotten, to the ground as human and alien history changed forever in that unexpected moment of connection. Protocol was broken, but something far more ancient and important had just been remembered. Chaos erupted in Global Unity Plaza. Security teams rushed forward, weapons drawn. The Human Honor Guard broke formation, with several guards moving to protect the Earth officials. But Sergeant Ethan Miller didn't move toward the officials. Instead, he sprinted toward Lily. "Stand down," Captain Bennett shouted over the commotion. Her voice carried such authority that the security teams hesitated. "Look at the royals." She was right. The Arcturian royal family showed no signs of alarm. Their skin rippled with colors of blue and purple, which the briefing materials had described as colors of interest and excitement, not fear or anger. The Ketal guard continued to kneel before Lily, speaking in that strange musical language. The little girl responded in kind, her young voice somehow managing the complex tones and clicks. To everyone watching, it seemed impossible. No human had ever mastered High Arcturian, let alone a child who had never been exposed to it. Ethan reached Lily's side just as her parents broke through the crowd barrier. "What's happening to our daughter?" George Adams demanded, his face pale with worry. The Secretary General stepped forward, her diplomatic training overcoming her shock. "Please, everyone remain calm. This appears to be unexpected but not threatening, Doctor." Kevin Wright pushed his way to the front. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, he had spent years studying alien languages, including what little was known of Arcturian. "She's speaking High Arcturian," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "Not the diplomatic language we've learned, but the ceremonial dialect. It's supposed to be impossible for human vocal cords to pronounce correctly." The tallest Arcturian royal raised a 6-fingered hand, and all fell silent. Even Lily and the Ketal guard stopped speaking. The Arcturian skin shifted to a deep purple as it addressed the crowd. "This is an unexpected blessing," the royal said, using the common diplomatic language. "The child has given the sacred sign of the Star Speakers, a sign not seen in 20,000 years. Lily looked up at the towering alien with no fear in her eyes. "I saw it in my dreams," she said simply, now speaking English again. "I didn't know what it meant, but it felt important." The Ketal guard rose to his feet but remained close to Lily. His skin had settled into a steady golden glow rather than the deep blue of the other guards. "Sentinel of the Distant Light requests permission to speak," the tall royal announced. Then our Secretary General nodded, still trying to maintain some sense of the planned protocol. "Of course." The Ketal guard's voice was deep and resonant when speaking English. "The little one bears the mark of the star speakers in her mind. She carries ancient knowledge thought lost to all species." Captain Bennett stepped closer to Ethan and whispered, "Stay with the girl. Something big is happening here." Ethan nodded, keeping his position near Lily. Her parents stood on her other side, confusion and worry clear on their faces. "What's a star speaker?" the Secretary General asked. The youngest royal moved forward, skin shimmering with star-like patterns. "Before the Great Silence, when the galaxy was young, minds could touch across the stars. The star speakers were those who could hear the thoughts of all sentient beings, binding our ancestors together in understanding." Dr. Wright couldn't contain his excitement. "A psychic network? A universal translator within the mind itself?" "More than that," the royal replied. "A warning system. A way to see threats approaching from beyond the galactic rim." The plaza had grown quiet as people strained to hear. Cameras broadcast the unexpected turn of events worldwide and to waiting ships throughout the solar system. "Our records speak of a time when the star speakers went silent," continued the royal. "When the ability was lost, wars broke out between species who could no longer understand each other's thoughts and intentions. The Great Collapse followed. Civilizations fell. And then, the darkness came from between the stars." Lily tugged on Ethan's sleeve. When he bent down, she whispered, "I've seen the darkness in my dreams too. It's hungry." The Sentinel of the Distant Light knelt again, this time addressing all present. "Our oldest texts speak of a cycle. The star speakers fall silent. The darkness comes. Worlds die. Then, when all seems lost, the star speakers return, beginning with the young ones whose minds are most open." The Arcturian royal's skin darkened to a deep indigo. "We came to Earth not just for diplomatic reasons. We have detected anomalies at the edge of charted space. Ancient warnings told us to search all worlds for signs of awakening star speakers. This child is proof the texts were correct." Susan Adams pulled her daughter closer. "What does this mean for Lily?" the Sentinel answered, his golden skin pulsing gently. "It means she is precious beyond measure. It means she can help save all our worlds from what approaches." Captain Bennett stepped forward. "With respect, she's just a child. An Earth child under our protection." The tallest royal's skin shifted to a gentle green. "We would never harm or take a child from her family, but we must learn what she knows, what her dreams tell her, and we must find others like her." The Secretary General looked thoughtful. "Are there other children showing these abilities?" "We have reports from 3 other Confederation worlds," the royal answered. "All within the last 30 days, all children. All having similar dreams." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Something about Lily's dream stirred a memory within him. Since his combat service in the Centauri conflict, he had experienced nightmares of shadows moving between stars. He had dismissed them as stress reactions, but now he wondered. "I think we should continue this discussion somewhere more private," the Secretary General suggested, looking at the massive crowd and the billions watching via broadcast. As the group began to move toward the government buildings, Lily suddenly stopped and pointed to the sky. Everyone looked up, but there was nothing visible except the blue of Earth's atmosphere. "It's coming," she said in a small voice. "They need to hurry." "Who needs to hurry?" Ethan asked, kneeling beside her. Lily's eyes seemed focused on something no one else could see. "The others like me. We need to remember how to talk to each other across the stars, before it's too late." The Sentinel of the Distant Light placed his large hand gently on Lily's shoulder. "Yes, little star speaker, and we will help you remember." As they walked toward the government complex, Ethan noticed something odd. The sentinel had not returned to formation with the other Ketal guards. He had broken protocol permanently, it seemed, to stay by Lily's side. Something told Ethan that his own life was about to change just as dramatically. Inside the secure conference room of the Global Unity building, tension filled the air. Lily sat at the large oval table, her feet dangling well above the floor. Her parents flanked her protectively while government officials, scientists, and military personnel filled the remaining seats. The Arcturian delegation stood rather than sat, their tall forms making the human-designed room seem suddenly small. Ethan remained standing as well, positioned near the door where he could watch everyone. Captain Bennett had officially assigned him as Lily's security detail, a role he accepted without hesitation. "Let's start with the basics," said Director Paul Wilson of Earth's Space Defense Force. "What exactly is a star speaker, and why is this the first we're hearing about them?" The eldest Arcturian royal's skin rippled with patterns of deep blue. "The knowledge was not intentionally withheld. We believed the star speakers were gone forever, a footnote in ancient history. Our oldest records speak of them as a binding force between species, but those records are fragments at best." Dr. Wright, the xenolinguist, was busily taking notes. "So they were some kind of telepathic translators?" "More than that," the sentinel of the distant light said. His golden glow had not faded since the ceremony. "They were our early warning system. They could sense threats beyond normal perception, threats that moved between the stars." The Secretary General leaned forward. "And you believe such a threat is coming now?" "We know it," said the youngest royal. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected anomalies at the edge of charted space. Gaps in the background radiation, stars that dim briefly without explanation." "I can see them," Lily said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. "In my dreams, they're like hungry shadows. They eat the light." Susan Adams stroked her daughter's hair. "Lily has always been sensitive. Even as a baby, she seemed to know things before they happened." Director Wilson looked skeptical. "With all due respect, we need more than a child's dreams to mobilize our defenses." Lily didn't seem bothered by his doubt. Instead, she picked up a digital tablet from the table and began drawing with her finger. Complex patterns of stars appeared on the screen. When she finished, she pushed the tablet to the center of the table. "This is where they are now," she said simply. One of the Arcturian scientists moved forward, skin flashing with rapid patterns. "Those are exact coordinates in the Canes Venatici sector, beyond Confederation space. How could she know this?" Dr. Samantha Reed, Earth's Astronomical Survey Director, grabbed her own tablet and pulled up recent deep space scans. After a moment of comparison, her face paled. "The pattern matches anomalous readings we detected 3 days ago. We thought it was instrument error." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "She couldn't have known that," Director Wilson said, his skepticism wavering. Ethan stepped forward. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" Captain Bennett nodded. "Since my service in the Centauri conflict, I've been having dreams, similar to what Lily describes. Shadows moving between stars. I dismissed them as stress reactions, but—" He paused, feeling suddenly foolish under the gaze of so many important people. The sentinel's golden skin brightened. "The warrior has the touch as well, though fainter. This confirms our theories." "What theories?" the Secretary General asked. The eldest Arcturian made a gesture, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed a galactic map with several points highlighted. "We have confirmed reports of 7 children across different Confederation worlds exhibiting similar abilities, all within the past 30 Earth days. And now we learn that some adults, particularly those who have experienced combat, may have latent abilities as well. It's like the ability is waking up," Dr. Wright suggested. "But why now?" "Because they're getting closer," Lily said. She began drawing again, this time creating a series of symbols that no one in the room recognized. No one except the sentinel. His skin flashed with bright pulses. "Those are ancient Ketal war glyphs. No human has ever seen them. They were lost even to most of our kind thousands of years ago." Lily looked up at him. They were in my dreams, along with other symbols from other places. They all mean the same thing. Wake up, remember, prepare. Director Wilson rubbed his temples. This is beyond our normal protocols. If what you're saying is true, we're facing a threat we can't even properly detect, let alone fight. Not with conventional means, the youngest royal agreed. But perhaps with the Star Speakers reawakening, we have a chance to prepare. Captain Bennett, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. What exactly can these Star Speakers do? Besides sensing the threat, the Sentinel knelt beside Lily's chair. In the ancient times, they could link minds across vast distances, share knowledge instantly, see patterns no individual could perceive, create defenses woven from the combined mental energy of multiple species. That sounds like something from a fairy tale, Susan Adams said, squeezing her daughter's hand. Many truths begin as stories, the Sentinel replied. The little one has much to remember, as do all the awakening Star Speakers, but time is short. The eldest royal moved to the center of the room. We propose a joint operation. We must gather the awakening Star Speakers, help them recover their abilities, and prepare for what comes. The Secretary General nodded slowly. This will require approval from the Earth Council, but given the evidence, I believe they will agree. Ethan stepped forward again. What about Lily's safety? If she's as important as you say, there will be those who might want to use her abilities for their own purposes. A valid concern, the Royal agreed. We would request that you, Sergeant Miller, continue as her guardian. The bond forming between the Sentinel and the child is important, but a human protector who understands your world is equally necessary. Before Ethan could respond, the building's alarms began to sound. Red emergency lights flashed throughout the room. Security breach in the East Wing, announced an automated voice over the speakers. Director Wilson grabbed his communicator. Report! Sir, came a strained voice. Unknown intruders. They don't show up on thermal scanners. 3 security personnel down. They appear to be heading for the conference level. The Arcturian Royal's skin darkened to almost black. The Sentinel moved with blinding speed, positioning himself between Lily and the door. They're already here, Lily whispered, her eyes wide. The shadow sent something ahead of them. They know about us. Ethan unholstered his sidearm. We need to move her to a secure location. Captain Bennett was already at the room's security panel. Lockdown protocols engaged, backup on the way. The youngest royal's skin pulsed with rapid patterns. Our ship has defenses against such entities if we can reach it. George Adams wrapped his arms around his wife and daughter. How could they possibly know about Lily already? The Sentinel's golden glow intensified. Because when she awakened, she became a beacon. All Star Speakers do. It is why they were hunted in the ancient times, why they eventually fell silent. He looked down at Lily. But this time we were prepared. This time we will protect them. A loud bang echoed from somewhere down the hallway. Then another closer. They're coming, Lily said quietly. But instead of fear, her face showed determination. She reached out, taking the Sentinel's 6-fingered hand in her small one. But I'm starting to remember how to fight them. The banging in the hallway grew louder. Everyone in the conference room tensed as something heavy slammed against the reinforced door. The metal surface dented inward slightly. Standard weapons have limited effect, the Sentinel warned, his golden skin pulsing brightly. They exist partially between dimensions. Ethan positioned himself between the door and Lily. Then what does hurt them? Light, Lily said suddenly. Focused thought. They hate it when minds connect. The Arcturian royals exchanged glances, their skin rippling with complex patterns. The youngest one stepped forward. The child is correct. Our ancestors fought them with combined mental energy, channeled through the Star Speakers. Another bang rattled the door. A black, oily substance began, seeping through the small gap between the door and its frame. We can't stay here, Captain Bennett said, checking her weapon. Is there another way out? The Secretary General moved to a panel on the far wall and pressed her palm against it. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow emergency passage. This leads to the underground transit system. We can reach the spaceport from there. Move quickly, Director Wilson ordered. Security teams will try to slow them down. The sentinel lifted Lily into his arms. She didn't protest, instead wrapping her small hands around his neck. Her parents stayed close, faces pale with fear and worry. As they hurried through the narrow passage, Ethan brought up the rear, weapon drawn. The lights in the tunnel flickered ominously. They interfere with electrical systems, the eldest Arcturian explained. Another sign that confirms their identity. Dr. Wright, still clutching his notes, couldn't contain his scientific curiosity, even in danger. What exactly are they? The ancient texts call them void feeders. The sentinel replied, his voice echoing in the tunnel. They consume energy in all forms: light, heat, thought, life. And they've come before? Captain Bennett asked. The youngest royal's skin darkened. Many times, according to our oldest records. Each time, civilizations fall. Stars go dark. Then the feeders retreat beyond the rim, satiated for a time. But not this time, Lily said with strange certainty. This time we remember how to fight. They reached the end of the passage where an automated transit car waited. Everyone quickly boarded, and the Secretary General activated the system. The Mayo car began moving rapidly through the underground tunnel. We've detected similar incidents at 3 other Confederation outposts, the eldest royal said as they traveled, always targeting locations near awakening star speakers. Susan Adams held her daughter's hand tightly. How do they know where to find them? The awakening creates ripples in what you might call subspace, the sentinel explained. The stronger the awakening, the more noticeable the ripples. And Lily's awakening was very strong, George Adams said, understanding dawning on his face. The sentinel nodded. The strongest we have detected. That is why I recognized her signal immediately. The transit car suddenly lurched to a stop, throwing everyone forward. The lights flickered and went out, leaving only the golden glow of the sentinel's skin to illuminate the space. They've found us, Lily whispered. Emergency lights came on, bathing everything in dim red. Through the windows of the transit car, they could see dark shapes moving in the tunnel, flowing like liquid shadows against the walls. We're still 2 minutes from the spaceport station, the Secretary General said, checking the control panel. Ethan made a quick decision. Everyone, stay here, I'll draw them off. Captain Bennett grabbed his arm. That's suicide, Sergeant. Not necessarily, the youngest royal interjected. If the warrior has latent star speaker abilities as we suspect, he may be able to distract them temporarily. Ethan looked at Lily. You said they hate it when minds connect. How do I do that? Lily reached out and touched his forehead. Remember your dreams, the patterns, the stars, think of them clearly. The sentinel placed one 6-fingered hand on Ethan's shoulder. I will help strengthen the connection. Ethan felt a strange warmth spread from the alien's touch, followed by a flood of images from his dreams, star patterns, symbols, and a sense of ancient knowledge just beyond his grasp. I'll buy you time to reach the ship, Ethan said, his resolve firm. Get Lily to safety. Before anyone could argue further, he opened the transit car door and stepped into the tunnel. The dark shapes immediately noticed him, flowing in his direction. Ethan focused on the star patterns from his dreams, holding the images firmly in his mind. The shadows hesitated, their formless shapes rippling with what seemed like confusion. Back in the transit car, Lily closed her eyes. I can see him. I can help. The sentinel nodded. Focus your thoughts, little one. Reach out to him. Lily's face scrunched in concentration. In the tunnel, Ethan suddenly felt a presence in his mind. Small, bright, and surprisingly strong. New images flooded his awareness, patterns of light that formed a barrier around him. The shadow creatures recoiled. From the mental light, Ethan began walking backward, drawing them away from the transit car as it hummed back to life and continued toward the spaceport. It's working, he muttered to himself, continuing to focus on the patterns Lily was somehow projecting into his mind. Meanwhile, the transit car reached the spaceport station. The group hurried through the emergency exit and onto the landing field where the Arcturian vessel waited, its surface shimmering with colors. What about Sergeant Miller? George Adams asked as they approached the ship. The Sentinel's skin pulsed with determination. I will retrieve him. Before anyone could stop him, the Sentinel handed Lily to her mother and sprinted back toward the transit tunnel, moving faster than any human could run. Captain Bennett organized the remaining security. Personnel, form a perimeter. Nothing gets through to the ship. Inside the transit tunnel, Ethan was struggling. The shadow creatures had recovered from their initial surprise and were pressing closer. His mental barrier was weakening as Lily's presence, in his mind, faded with distance. Just as the nearest shadow reached for him, a blinding golden light filled the tunnel. The Sentinel had returned, his entire body radiating intense light that drove the shadows back. The connection works both ways. Warrior, the Sentinel said, grabbing Ethan's arm. Now we run. They sprinted through the tunnel, the shadows shrieking behind them in frequencies that hurt Ethan's ears. They emerged onto the landing field just as more shadows began to ooze from nearby buildings. Get to the ship, Captain Bennett shouted. The Arcturian vessel's entry ramp was down, with the royal family already aboard. Lily stood at the top of the ramp, her small hands outstretched. As Ethan and the Sentinel ran toward the ship, a visible wave of energy emanated from the little girl, pushing back the encroaching shadows. She's remembering more, the Sentinel said as they reached the ramp. Faster than we expected. Once everyone was aboard, the ramp closed and the ship's engines powered up. Through the viewports they could see the shadow creatures swarming the landing field, their formless bodies stretching upward as if trying to reach the departing vessel. As the ship rose into the sky, Lily pressed her hand against the viewport. They're scared, she said softly. Scared? Ethan asked, catching his breath. Of what? Lily turned to look at him, her eyes seeming older and wiser than her 8 years. Of us, of what happens when we all remember together. The Arcturian ship rose through Earth's atmosphere, its advanced engines barely making a sound. Inside, humans and aliens gathered in the central chamber, still processing their narrow escape. Lily sat cross-legged on a raised platform in the center of the room. The Sentinel stood behind her, his golden skin providing gentle illumination. Ethan watched from nearby, still feeling the lingering connection that had formed in his mind. The Void Feeders will not stop, the eldest royal stated, addressing everyone. They have identified Earth as a focal point of Starspeaker activity. Captain Bennett frowned. Meaning, they'll be back with greater numbers. Yes, the royal confirmed. We must prepare quickly. The Secretary General straightened her disheveled clothes, trying to maintain dignity despite the circumstances. What do you propose? The youngest royal stepped forward, skin shimmering with star-like patterns. We must gather the other awakening Starspeakers. Combined, their abilities could form a defense network as in ancient times. Dr. Wright, who had been documenting everything on his tablet, looked up. How many are there? We have confirmed 7. Others across different worlds, the royal replied. But there may be more awakening even now. George and Susan Adams exchanged worried looks. Susan spoke first. What does this mean for our daughter? Before any of the Arcturians could answer, Lily spoke up. I need to meet the others. We need to remember together. The Sentinel placed a 6-fingered hand gently on Lily's shoulder. The little one sees clearly. The ancient knowledge is returning. To her faster than we anticipated. Director Wilson, who had been quietly assessing the situation, finally spoke. This is beyond Earth's experience. We need the full resources of the Galactic Confederation. Already requested, the eldest royal said. Ships from 17 species are converging, but they will take time to arrive. Ethan moved closer to Lily. What exactly do you remember about fighting these things? Lily's small face grew serious. Not fighting exactly. More like pushing them away with our minds, making a wall they can't cross. She paused, struggling to articulate concepts beyond her years. We need to be together, all of us who can hear the stars. The ship's communication system chimed. One of the Arcturian crew members answered, then turned to the group, skin flashing with urgent patterns. Reports coming in from monitoring stations at the edge of the solar system, the crew member announced. Multiple void anomalies detected, larger than any previously recorded. The eldest royal's skin darkened. They are gathering more quickly than we feared. Captain Bennett checked her weapon, though she now understood how useless it would be against the shadows. How long do we have? At their current approach speed, less than 72 hours before they reach Earth, the crew member replied. Susan held her daughter's hand tightly. Can we evacuate? Take people to safety? The youngest royal's skin pulsed with sad colors. There is nowhere to hide. If they succeed here, they will spread throughout the galaxy. It has happened before. Lily suddenly stood up, her eyes focused on something no one else could see. We need to go to the moon. Everyone turned to look. At her. The moon? George asked. Why? Lily pointed toward the front viewports where Earth's moon was visible. There's something there, something old, I can feel it calling. The Sentinel's golden glow brightened. The child speaks truth. Our oldest texts mention a gathering place constructed by the ancient star speakers, a focal point. On Earth's moon? Director Wilson asked skeptically. The moon orbits Earth, but it has been here long before humans evolved, the eldest royal explained. Many species visited your solar system in ancient times. Ethan felt a tingle in his mind, like a memory trying to surface. I've dreamed about the moon too. A place inside a crater, structures that glow with blue light. The Sentinel turned to him. Your awakening continues, warrior. The connection grows stronger. Captain Bennett addressed the Arcturian crew. Can you take us to the moon? Immediately, the crew member confirmed, already entering commands into the ship's navigation system. As the ship changed course, Lily walked to the viewport, staring at the growing sphere of the moon. The others are coming too, I can feel them. The Sentinel nodded. The call has gone out from all across the Confederation. Ships are bringing the awakened ones. If you don't mind me asking, Dr. Wright said, why didn't you tell us about this? Place on our moon before? The youngest royal's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. We did not know it was there. The ancient texts speak of gathering places, but their locations were lost. It is the awakening star speakers who remember. The ship accelerated toward the moon, its engines pushing it faster than any human vessel could travel. Within minutes, they were orbiting the lunar surface. There, Lily said, pointing to a large crater on the dark side. In the deep part, the ship descended, scanners mapping the crater's interior. At the bottom, where shadows should have been deepest, a faint blue glow became visible. Energy readings unlike anything in our database, an Arcturian scientist reported. Yet the pattern matches fragments recovered from ancient Starspeaker artifacts. They landed near the source of the glow. Through the viewports, they could see what appeared to be a structure built into the crater wall, partially buried by millennia of lunar dust. Patterns of blue light pulsed across its surface. It's waking up, Lily whispered. Because we're waking up. The Sentinel knelt before her. You must guide us, little one. The knowledge is within you. We need to go inside, Lily said with certainty. All of us with the dreams. Preparation for a lunar excursion began immediately. Special suits were provided for the humans, while the Arcturians required only simple breathing apparatus. More ships approaching, a crew member announced. 7 Confederation vessels, each carrying an awakening star speaker. Ethan suited up alongside Captain Bennett, both still processing how quickly their lives had changed. From ceremonial guards to the front line of a threat they barely understood. Are you afraid? Bennett asked him quietly. Ethan considered the question. Yes, but also ready somehow, like I've been waiting for this without knowing it. Once everyone was prepared, they exited the ship. Lily walked confidently across the lunar surface despite the bulky suit, heading straight for the glowing structure. The Sentinel stayed close, matching his pace to hers. The other ships landed nearby. Soon 7 more children of various ages emerged, each accompanied by guardians from their respective worlds. Though of different species, all the children moved with the same purpose, converging on the ancient structure. As they approached, a doorway appeared in the previously solid surface, blue light spilling out to illuminate the lunar dust. Lily stopped at the threshold, waiting until all the other children had joined her. Without words, they formed a circle, each reaching out to hold hands with those beside them. Human, Arcturian, and other species united. Ethan felt the connection in his mind strengthen, linking him to Lily, to the Sentinel, and now faintly to the other awakening star speakers. Images flowed through the connection. Star patterns, ancient symbols, and most importantly, knowledge of how to face what was coming. The children stepped forward together into the ancient structure. As they crossed the threshold, the blue light intensified, shooting upward from the lunar surface in a brilliant beacon visible across the solar system. Lily turned back to look at Ethan, her young face filled with a wisdom beyond her years. "This is just the beginning," she said, her voice clear through the comm system. "We remember now, and they should be afraid." From the darkness between the stars, the Void Feeders sensed the awakening and hesitated in their approach. For the first time in millennia, the hunters knew fear. The star speakers had returned, and with them, the light that could push back the darkness.